you spoke about of the application being your sort of in-house consultant
Hmm.
and doing stuff to help you build your business.
Hmm.
So my question is,
Hmm.
based on what I do, and you see my LinkedIn profile, you
Yep.
see my online presence,
Yep.
how did the software you're building help me?
Yep. Perfect. Perfect. So I'm going to break it down actually for how it will help you, right? Because I think that's the best way to understand it. So in the past, what has happened with businesses, particularly large businesses, is when they had a problem or when they want or they needed a strategy, whether if you take your business, you're looking for a strategy to grow your mortgage business. You're looking for a strategy on a particular marketing or advertising campaign in order to get new, customers coming into you or even to get new investors. That's the from that perspective, you continuously want to grow your business with customers and suppliers. That's fundamentally your business in order to grow your revenue and your profitability. So a lot of companies, you mentioned, real estate consultants. So for example, the big consultant firms, the McKinsey and PwC and all that, large corporations would hire them to build a strategy for them, right? But in reality, in the information age, so in the information age, however, what the consultant is simply doing is the consultant is simply going out, doing research, using technology, finding data, and building you a PowerPoint presentation and saying, here's the consultancy. Okay, here's what we would do and all that. In the digital age, with data infrastructure, with artificial intelligence, you don't need a consultant to do that for you if you can basically access that information yourself. So if you can access that data yourself, and then if you have a strategy canvas, okay, that allows you to essentially take that data, find out what you want through prompting, and effectively let the machine help you build a strategy. So instead of paying from a big consultancy perspective, so instead of paying north of $100,000 and wasting 3 months of your time for a consultant to over just basically hand your report, okay, you can do all of this yourself in-house with a single piece of software. So the software will be able to allow you to prompt, ask the question that you want, and allow you to find the relevant data. Because what's important now, as you see with Chat GPT and those large language models, is a jack of all trade, master of none. So the major problem with these models is that it essentially, what we call hallucinate. It just makes stuff up because of how these large models work. Well, our technology, which is verified by Harvard and MIT, and we are going to be with the McGill Lab also, which is be a great resource for us. We're building what we call specific focused language models, only focusing on the problem the customer wants to solve. So Ray goes into the computer. Ray McMillan in his mortgage business doesn't care about 15, 20, 100 other things that's happening in the universe. All he wants is the relative data that he can download and let the artificial intelligence help him simplify, summarize, and give him directions in regards to what he should do in order to grow his business. So we may be able to find here's demand here in this particular area. So then, the strategy canvas will help draft the strategy in order for you to follow. So the strategy comes in the sense of a full out presentation that you can follow. Okay. But the beautiful thing is, because it's digital and because it's automated, the strategy will keep updating based on new relevant information that's coming in. So if, for example, there's a new development, right? There's a new development that's coming on board. I mean, I'm just making kind of stuff up in a sense.
Yeah, no,
There's a
no,
new
I get it.
development coming on board. Ray sees this as an opportunity because, he may be able to, bring clients in there. He may be able to expand his business network. Well, that the system will prompt, and that will be relevant to what you're doing. So it'll update and it'll make you aware of that. in order for you to constantly upgrade your strategy. So the strategy process is not with the big consultant industry. They give you a presentation and they walk away. Because of AI and because of digital, everything is always live and in real time because the algorithms understand what you're looking for. You've prompted it to say, these are the things I'm looking for. This is the strategy that I'm building. And it'll constantly update and monitor the strategy to keep you to avoid what we call strategy drift. And it will be monitor and let you know your performance, every single thing. So you mentioned Copilot. I want to give you an example. I don't know if in that slide I sent you an example of between 6AI and Copilot, but I have a really great chart that shows what Copilot does. So for example, Copilot, it's an administrative tool, right? To be quite honest with you, it's a chatbot. And that chatbot only works based on the data that is in your business right now. So it only works in the data from your database and from your administrative or whatnot. But that's not useful to you. What 6AI does, it's a demand side piece of technology, because if you want to grow your business, you have to know what the major trends are. You have to know what real estate, where real estate prices are going, investment models, rate of return, whatever it is. So it's a demand side application that helps you build strategy in order to grow your business. So the beautiful thing about this is whether it's you're a billion-dollar corporation looking to build a strategy, or an individual person build a personal growth strategy is agnostic. You prompt the system based on what you want to build, and it pumps out a strategy for you, and it's ongoing and it's updated. So that's essentially, it's a big assistant to yourself.
So whether it's a product or a service, the approach is basically similarly the same. If I
Say that again.
understand,
If what? Say that again. I missed that.
whether it's a product or a service, the approach that you use, the end user uses, is basically the same thing. I put in my
100%.
parameters and test me to build my models.
100%.
Okay.
100%. That's
Now,
exactly it, to be honest with you.
Who is behind the design of the technology?
So the technology, I like to call myself, I'm not an engineer or whatnot, but I'm a math guy, right?
Okay.
And
Not the science.
Yeah, exactly. So let me give you the story of 6AI. So my background, and I think it's important just to give you where I'm coming from. So my background, coming out of McGill University in Montreal, I came to Toronto. I started working for RBC Dominion Securities, the investment firm. From there, actually spent 2 years over at AIC with Michael Lee Chin. He had recruited me over there. I built a business called AIC Private Portfolio Group for him. From there, I was hired from somebody who was at RBC and worked with me, and who became CEO over at UBS. UBS is probably, it was certainly within the top 5 largest investment firms in the world, Swiss-based firm. So I went over to UBS, and I was a director at UBS in terms of investments, and I became after a while I became the director or the head of key clients. So basically, clients with $30 million and over. I had the Schwartz, the Rogers family, and in 2008 I was number 1 guy in Canada on the All Factor rankings. So from a perspective, I understood how, from a wealth management perspective, I understood what is most important is a strategy. You always have to have a strategy, and you always have to be able to monitor your strategy. Fast forward in 2020, I hired a young man who just finished his PhD at U of T in data science, essentially, and we started a business called Douglas Blackwell. And Douglas Blackwell essentially would consult businesses based on strategy from the perspective of data science. No ego-driven, no, like the big consultancy firms, they'll hire somebody who used to be an executive or whatnot in a particular company, and they would hire them. We don't want any of that. We basically want to make our decisions, and we want to give clients decisions based on science, based on data science. So decisions we would make based on factual information that we can crunch up the data and say, here's what this is. So what has happened is that we built a lot of strategy. I've done some work in the Caribbean. I built a strategy for CARICOM in regards to agriculture and how they need to, the only way they can be competitive is, in the agriculture sector, is to be using vertical farms and things like that, because they had benefits with solar, and they would bring their costs in, did all those things. Of course, in the Caribbean, you give them something and it goes on the shelf, and and nobody does it. But we basically, so we basically can we basically can. So traditionally, somebody would have a business and they would, go out and raise money. They have an idea and they'll go down the road, but the failure rate is really high because it's just an idea. We do it in reverse. It's a reverse engineering. We used to go out and say, hey, here's verified demand. Here's a verified marketplace. Here is all the data, all the statistics. Here's what's happening. So we reverse now to create a business to capture that opportunity. And when you do it like that, it goes way up. So long story short, we've done a lot of strategies for a lot of different clients. However, we are now in the digital age. And I sat back and I said to myself, much as what you did when you added technology to your business, I'm not going to become like a PwC or McKinsey or Boston Consultant. Neither do I want to become that big. I don't like to say anything is impossible, but it would be impossible. You have to grow partners and all that kind of stuff. And that's antiquated. That's not where the world is going with artificial intelligence. I would be an idiot to do that. So the question came up, how do I create, a million Perrys? How do I scale a business? I can't scale a business, trying to build partners and get partners and consultant business the traditional way. The only way to do it is through software. So essentially what I've done, what I was running with my clients before was called applied intelligence, which I created. You may have seen me some of my posts and all that. It's applied intelligence. So applied intelligence is an application where you apply your intelligence to the problem you want to solve. And what I did when I build these strategies for clients, I created a 6-step process. Okay, the mathematics of that, and an equation of that, I have all of that written. I can share.
Sorry, that's where the name 6AI comes from.
That's where the name 6AI comes from.
I'm trying to follow the, okay.
Yeah, no problem. It's a 6-step process to applied intelligence. Okay. And it's based on a math equation that I wrote myself, and then I built the 6 steps myself. So long story short, I was using that 6-step process, but more in a manual situation, right? So like I said, how can I scale this business? The only way I can scale this business is to put the 6AI into a piece of software, sell it on a subscription basis that anybody, just like they load Microsoft 365, they pay X amount of a month for it, and they load it into their system, and Microsoft does what it does. 6AI software will do what it does, right? And in a subscription base, it becomes very affordable, right? And what we are looking to do is we want to disrupt the $900 billion consultant industry. But more importantly, who has never used consultants before? Small and medium-sized businesses, okay? But all small and medium-sized businesses usually have Microsoft Office or whatnot. You need a basic, So for us on the demand side, on the growth side, 6AI would be a simple piece of software that you can buy, monthly subscription, the same model like everything. It's that's where the word SaaS, software as a service. So you simply buy it, and in order to build your strategy. That is the only way to scale, right? So we've looked at it, and my guy Warwick, who's on the financial side here, we believe we can have $1 billion business just on subscription sales alone. I mean, we have a huge spreadsheet and modeled out, but at the end of the day, the bottom line is that those are estimates. Okay, but the key is this, right? Users. If people will buy this because it's a low risk investment, and everybody needs a strategy because strategy is agnostic, right? And everybody can buy this stuff. We have a massive market, and that's how we've said, okay, we can come up with $1 billion valuation. So again, your question about scaling is that the only way to scale this business is through technology. You know, it's as simple as that. And software, and that's what software does. And software is extraordinarily, profitable. And that's sort of the story of how I've gotten to 6AI.